So welcome everyone. We're going to go ahead and start on time. And I wanted to take this opportunity. My name is Shelley Cameron. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for attending this very intriguing discussion with Dr. Peter Ricci. We'll start immediately. However, I wanted to share with you before I do that, the opportunity to invite you to attend our upcoming job fair. This will be held on June 10th, and information and the flyer has been going out with each emails that have been sent, but I'm not sure if everybody has been realizing that certain things were attached to it. We will be having it available. It's on our website if you want to go search. It's on our website and also on LinkedIn as well, with the list of our vendors also will be sending it out. So for more information after the presentation, you can see the website, HHRABC.org. I also wanted to introduce to you a little bit about our organization, because I know there's a lot of persons who might be on, some names that I've never seen before. And just to share with you that our organization has been providing educational growth opportunities for HR and industry leaders in hospitality since 1998. And it began with our founder, April Maza. April, would you want to just wave or say hi?
Hi, everybody. Great to see you all. Hope that we see some people at the job fair too to help us. Hopefully Peter's going to go over all this stuff today. Hopefully we get some attendance there and get some people hired at hotels.
Perfect too. And we want to get back into a little bit more, mentioning it when the time comes at the end of the meeting. So we want to give Peter his the ability to speak now, and I want to take this opportunity to introduce him. Dr. Peter Ricci, and he has many letters after his name. He's a clinical associate professor and director of the Hospitality and Tourism Management Program at Florida Atlantic University, FAU, my alma mater. The program is top ranked globally, not nationally only, but globally. Peter has published over 30 peer-reviewed tourism journals, as well as the little book of big cases for the hospitality manager. I suggest each person can get a copy of that as well. Peter earned many top certifications within the industry, including the Certified Healthcare Administrator, CHA, the CHASE, the Certified Revenue Management Executive, which is the CRME, CHIA, CHRM, HIFA, and CHBA. Peter is a two-time graduate of the University of Florida, again my alma mater, with a BA in Sociology and MSRS. Peter is the University of Florida's distinguished alumnus. His doctorate, EDD, was completed in 2005 at the University of Central Florida. Peter started at the age of 14, at young age, and his 41-year hospitality career spans food and beverage, incentive travel, destination marketing, hotel leadership, and tourism education. His proudest accomplishment is the HSMAI South Florida Dr. Peter Ricci Scholarship, which has raised over $20,000 since its inception. And what I'm going to do is to make a copy of it and put it in the link in the chat so you can make your donation. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to Dr. Peter Ricci.
Thank you so much. I feel so old every time anybody uses some of that stuff. So it's so nice to see a lot of people on here from my email list, which is very cool because we're all trying to talk about the same subject. And with all of you today, it's kind of like preaching to the choir. So I want to spend maybe a half hour, but I want to get questions. Before I forget, I'll put my email address in the chat. Most of you already post your jobs with me, but I post jobs every day. I counted this morning before I signed on with Shelley, and I've sent out 72 job postings already. And each email has about 10 or 20 jobs within it available. So we have a big network. Don't forget to use us as a source. I know everybody's doing career fairs and Indeed and LinkedIn and any source you can. That's the issue we'll talk about today, because it's just a big struggle. So about a year ago, maybe a little more now, when we started entering COVID, I had a feeling my biggest chunk of time in the industry was as a regional in the hotel side. So I was a DOS and then a GM and then a regional GM, then a vice president. And my job was opening the new hotels or going in and firing the GMs and taking over the broken hotels. So I had a lot of layoffs in my career and I had to deal with them. And just HR was always my favorite part of the building. So I had dealt with a lot of layoffs and terminations and furloughs. And so when COVID was coming, in about February, March of 2020, I decided to take the certificate that we had face-to-face and go to the administrators at FAU and see if they would let us offer it for free. And we did, and it caught fire. And in the end, we still have it now in motion. I have about 700 people in it right now. And we have another run of it starting in June. So if you have any hotel associates that want to take it, this will be our last run coming up. But in the end, we probably had almost 88,000 people register from 165 countries. Well, I didn't realize that many of them were going to start being my friend, and that my emails, my phone, my mailbox would all start exploding with their feelings and their emotions. And so I call it kind of a loss of love. People really had some traumatic, very life-changing reactions to COVID-19 beyond the health issues. And so I'm going to carry you through what emerged and led to our research project that we just completed. So in the beginning, the certificate started showing mass interest. And so we put it out in April of 2020, around March, April, May, and had this overwhelming response. And you see it's in green. Everybody was enjoying their time off. They were finally home with their family. They had PTO. They were still getting paid. They loved the business. They couldn't wait to get some learning. They finally had time to do videos, you name it. And everything was hunky-dory. We'll be out of this in a month or two. Everybody's happy. Then as we moved into June, July, August, September, people were asking us for more things to do because they were still out of work, they were getting furloughed, they were getting laid off, and they were running out of PTO and starting to get nervous. So they figured this is a good time to keep learning. So we expanded. Our certificate's always been about 40 hours of content. And what we did at the start of COVID is put out a mini version, but we had so many requests for the full length version, and we had so many donations that we were able to create the full length and offer it at a discount. During this time, I started to get in my mailbox about 30 to 100 thank you cards a day. And this went on for months, along with voicemails, emails, social media comments, and we started compiling all the comments. And we passed 1 million comments by about August, if I remember, to the point where I had 10 or 12 people just collecting comments and tabulating them. And we realized that there was something going on with the hospitality workers. And my first gut instinct was that, you know what? I've been in this business since I'm 14. I haven't taken a vacation since I've been at FAU of more than 3 or 4 days, and I've been there for 14 years. So I know that most hospitality workers are so busy, so caught up in the world, that this is probably the first time they ever had time to stop in their tracks and think, and actually spend time with their family and friends and say, you know what, I might want to do something else. And that started to weigh in my head as a possibility. As we got to the end of 2020 and early 2021, I put everything in red because everybody was mad and disgruntled at this point. Their comments had gotten very sour. I hate the business. I'm never coming back. I've already found a job. My employer stinks. They got rid of me too quickly, and on and on and on and on. I have thousands of comments in a book that I compiled that were the lengthiest or most pertinent to me, or they moved me the most. And one of them that really moved me was a husband and wife that met their last semester in college. They graduated and they both started working at Ritz-Carlton the week after graduation. And this was 31 years later, and they were both fired on the same day by email. And they said, you know, we have given blood, sweat, and tears for ladies and gentlemen all these years, and we feel so betrayed. We will not come back to this business. And their little quote, which is only an anecdote, I don't like to focus on one-offs, but it really touched me in a bad way that this was the sentiment I was feeling. So we moved into now the middle of 2021. We did a survey earlier this year in depth to see if what we were hearing from these comments over and over again would match what we asked in the survey. And they were 100% solidified. Now, we sent it out to about 50,000 people. We had just under 5,000 responses. And back when I went to school, 10% response rate was kind of crappy. In today's world, the 10% response rate is pretty darn good because nobody completes surveys, especially the length of the survey that we had. So I'm told by my research faculty that we had a very good turnout, and we should listen to the data. And the data really say the same story as I was hearing from the thank you cards, the letters, and everything else. So this was our survey, Hospitality and Tourism Workforce Sentiments. We had, out of the 5,000, we had fully completed 4,076 surveys from 46 countries beyond the US, all 50 of our states, as well as DC, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. So we had a nice mixture of responses. We had heavy responses from Mid-Atlantic, California, Texas, and Florida. And what happened in those states, people started taking our certificate and then told their friends. So we had many people from specific areas. And a lot of people took the certificate that were outside the industry, which was very surprising to me, but they were in kind of people or guest service roles. One thing on this slide, I don't like the way they put it together for me, but you can see there's a misnomer in our business that we don't pay well. Middle management from 40 to 100,000 is pretty strong. And we had quite a few over 100,000 in the survey. Now, we asked people, was it before the COVID, their salary, and if they were still working, their current salary. And you can see the age breakdown. I'm going to go to the next slide, which is a little easier to see this. It's a lot of data, but you can see that we had a 70-30 split female to male. So right away, I said to myself, does this mean females are doing slightly different things than males? When we separate it out by gender, there's no difference in how they're responding. But what's intriguing to me is in higher education and hospitality, most college programs are now 60 to 70% female, but by no means are we 60 to 70% female leaders in our industry. I think that's where we'll be 15 or 20 years from now. Yes. But for the past decade, we have been 70% female in all of our college programs. So it's no surprise to me that we were heavily female on our survey respondents. The age breakdowns were pretty much 25 and above. And we did have some diversity, but not nearly enough as I would have liked. but that's the nature of doing a survey. We did have a fairly good spread of classes, married, not married, different levels of education, etc. Interesting that almost 50% had a bachelor's degree that were responded to. And I do want to show that I have a hard time getting the screen to work, but on the 100,000 and up, 14% of the survey responses made over $100,000. So I want to dwell on the money portion a little bit, because there is a disconnect in our industry that we've had for years, that we are low pay, high hours, lousy money. That is only true at the entry levels. I've had some conversations with the US Department of Commerce in between our data coming out, and they tell me that their long-term studies where they evaluate hospitality workers over the long haul, that hospitality workers earn on average a little bit better than average workers. It's only the entry level where we get bashed. And unfortunately, that's one of the problems that people continually mention, is their first 5 years in the business is extremely low paid compared to others. So you can see it was primarily female, 70-30 mix, but we have a good mixture of education and a fairly decent mixture on diversity. About 12% were unemployed by the employer's choice. Another 8% were furloughed. Quite a few were still employed at the time of the survey, which scares me a little bit, because most people want to leave the industry, and the majority were employed. We had them from airlines, Amtrak, cruise lines, car rental, which fall under travel and tourism. We had events, entertainment, food and beverage, hotels, and then the other category was IT, real estate, development, casinos, country clubs, and any of the other areas that didn't have more than 5% or under. But pretty much everybody in the business was represented, and every level, which made me feel better, because most surveys are either hotels or restaurants only, and we had a nice broad mixture of people. Of course, hotels and restaurants, food and beverage, catering, they always outweigh everything else, but at least we had the diversity of all the other segments. This is a graphic of number of years in the business on the bottom. You can see there's a wide spread, and number of years in their position on top. So most people have been in the business at least 5 to 20 years was the vast majority. And most people have been in their positions about 3 to 5 years on average. So the first takeaway was that almost 2/3 or above, in every way I shaped it and looked at it, felt that COVID's going to have a long-term negative impact on the industry. No surprise. Almost 30% felt that we could have done a better job in comparison to what their friends and family said. So we thought that, look at the numbers, 27%, 25%. So the rest of the people felt that we did not do well as an industry. And if I take their comments, it was, we are in the business of making people feel warm and fuzzy and taking care of them, but we didn't do that for our own, is kind of how that shakes out. Only about 13% felt that our industry would protect you during a crisis. So they didn't feel like we did a good job for them, even though we've taught them for years and years and years, they're supposed to do this for the guests. And there was comment after comment after comment that I felt that the rug was pulled under me. My hotel company should have had more reserve money. My restaurant could have paid me for a little bit longer amount of time, and so on and so on and so on. And I will, once we publish this data, I'll be able to share the slides with you and so you can look at each question individually. These are only highlights. 50% expressed concern about working in our business for the long term. Over 70% considered COVID significant impact on their job. Again, no surprise. But I didn't like this one. Almost 60% thought they were laid off or furloughed much too quickly. And what's interesting and surprising to me is that most people who responded were laid off in Q1 of 2020, which, if you remember, that was when I was getting all the green happy comments that they were still getting PTO, they were happy to be with family, this wouldn't last long. So 60% thought they were laid off too quickly, because they were laid off in Q1 and just immediately had the rug pulled out. So this one, there's a difference between the people who've been in the industry longer and the entry level people, which is bothersome for anyone in HR that's recruiting entry level people. About a third of all the people are considering jobs outside the organization and outside the industry. That itself gives me pause, because when we say everyone's going to come back when unemployment benefits run out, that's not a third of the people, that's far more. So yes, we're going to have people show up more once the $300 a week goes away, but there's still going to be a lot of people missing. Besides that third, another 20% were neutral, and they could be easily swayed to leave the business. So on the next slide, if you consider the neutral, then about 68% total would consider leaving the hospitality industry. Now, the difference is among newer people in the business, they are much, much more likely to be looking outside. And they had far fewer comments of, I love hospitality, it's my life, you know, Hilton is my world, Marriott's my friend, I've been at JetBlue for 18 years. Of course, the more senior people were less likely to want to leave within a year, but they were still likely, a third of them, whereas 2/3 of the newer people were ready to go and could be easily swayed. So if you look at just some of the graphics, I often think about quitting the organization, 30% if they're under 10 years, 25% if they're over 10 years. I often think about leaving the industry, 29% under, 27% over 10 years. Now, we all think about leaving the industry. There's not a year that one of us doesn't think about it. Does it mean they're going to leave? I don't know. But the next one, next year, I will probably look for a job outside the organization. Almost 40% of the newer people in this survey said yes. And the bottom one, you know, will they look outside the industry? That's still 36%, and it's still a quarter of the people who have been lifers in hospitality. So there was really not a lot of promising stuff in here. Hold on, let me go up. So, you know, I'll send this to Shelley, but you can look one by one. I often think about quitting left and right. Next year, I'll probably look outside, etc. But I want to tell you the macro level story is that, yes, people want to leave. And yes, they're in big numbers. And no, they don't want to come in for the money we pay and the benefits. That's my takeaway from these million+ comments. So here in the discrepancy charts, on the left is how the employee feels that their employer is fulfilling that objective. And on the right is how strongly they feel it's an obligation. So 81% feel that fair pay is an obligation of the employee, but only 60% feel it's fulfilled. And, you know, the pay increases to maintain my standard of living. 70% almost feel it's an obligation, 43% feel that it's fulfilled. And one by one, they're not exciting for me as a lifer in hospitality. Now, I tell you, this is a shocking thing for me because, like Shelley said, you know, I'll be 56 in 2 weeks, and I started when I was 14. So I've been in this business a long time. And most of us feel like it's in our blood. We can't do anything else. I don't want to work in a cubicle, yada, yada, yada. Well, this is the first time I've had thousands and thousands and thousands of people tell me, you know what? I've had enough. I'm over it. I've never heard that before to the extent that I've heard it. So there's a lot of focus right now on $15 minimum wage, on fair pay, whatever fair pay is in that geography, whatever it means. So there's a lot of conversations going on simultaneously. And some people believe that the unemployment going away is going to solve all woes. What I took away from this is that we need to, again, make them feel like they're part of a family, that they're being paid fairly, and that we're competing with other industries better than we have been. My gut instinct after these bazillion comments is that they got some time to be at home, to take a breath from a 50-hour work week, and to pause and reflect on their lives. They saw what their friends were doing, they saw what their family was doing, they saw what their neighbors were doing, and they realized, oh my God, I can work remote, I can drive for Lyft, I can do this and get $17 an hour instead of getting yelled at the front desk for $13 an hour. So without that emotional attachment to the industry, we're going to lose a lot of them. The good thing was the longer term people still felt a strong attachment to hospitality, but the short term under 10 years did not. So I think we have the ability to keep our long termers, but I think we're going to have a big challenge with the short termers. Now, think about this for a minute from my perspective teaching college students. If you're a student right now, you are negotiating. I have one who got up to $21 an hour for front desk role. I have others that are getting sign-on bonuses, staying 1 month and then going to the next employer, getting another sign-on bonus, going again. The sign-on's doing no good for the employers that don't wait long enough to pay it. But if you wait too long to pay it, you don't get applicants. So it's a time of utter chaos in some respects, and it's a bonanza if you're new to the business. I had a major large hotel post a front desk position for $12 an hour last week, thinking that they were at the top of the pay scale. The next 5 minutes, I got a posting for $18 an hour and I forwarded it to them. And they said, this can't be possible. There's no way you can maintain. Well, guess what? We're going to have to soul search as an industry. And we're going to have to find out how we can maintain at a reasonable, fair wage, or they're just not going to come back. So my word compilation that I really like was here. And now this is only from the survey. If we did it with all the comments from the certificate takers, it would be similar, but slightly different. The never coming back, leave now would be much bigger. The life balance would be much bigger, and the minimum wage would be much bigger. But from the survey responses, this is our word tree. Right now, looking outside, low pay, minimum wage. And you see, love hospitality gave me some hope, but it's very small. Let go. Real estate came up a lot. It seems that a lot of people in our business are gravitating to insurance sales, call centers, hospitals and assisted living facilities, and real estate. And people are thinking for the long term. They kept saying, for the long term, I've got to do something else. For the long term, I've got to do this. Now, I can tell you from the certificate, we've had about 300 new students at FAU who fell in love with the university. Sadly, only 30 of them are studying hospitality. So from zoology to sociology to health administration to accounting to finance, they came back to school because of our hospitality certificate, but they're eager to get out of the industry. Beyond that, we've had about 40 MBA students because of the certificate. only 2 of them are studying the hospitality specialization. So that gives me a lot of concern. Again, I'm talking in multiple ways with multiple things that all come up. So, for me, what do we do now? I've tried to silo in chunks the type of people that have lost or that feel lost. They either still have family duties in school and many things going on. They've already found jobs. They want to stay, but they're looking for better pay. They're looking for places that have better work-life balance, or they want better benefits. Those are kind of the silos. I really remember many, many, many comments about people who couldn't believe that their neighbors and friends had insurance when COVID hit and they did not. They were servers, they were front desk agents, they were room attendants, they were greeters at the airport. They didn't even know what their family and friends had in terms of insurance benefits. And they would reach out to me and say, what is an HMO? How come they get to go to the doctor for $20? I've never heard of that. And we were giving advice on topics you would never imagine. One other thing that really stuck out to me is we've always prided ourselves on perks in this industry. You get to stay for free, you get to eat for free, you get to travel. Travel was found to be the least likely motivator among these people. They didn't really care. They wanted to make enough money to travel when they want to travel, not when we could give them an employee rate. And one of my favorite comments was that when I started, employee rooms were $19. Now they're $99, and I can find it cheaper on Expedia. So you're not doing me any favors. So there's different chunks of people that are gone. And what you see here, I don't see any chunk that told us they're staying out until unemployment runs out. Nobody has come out and actually said that to me. I was hoping somebody would. And then the smallest group were those that still had a fear of coming back to work with the traveling public. One that emerged very recently is the ever increasing anger among guests coming out of the pandemic. And you've seen in the news the flight attendant at Southwest that had teeth punched out. The rage of the guests from being cooped up is at an all-time high. And many people are just not willing to deal with that anymore and come into our business and have to deal with that on a daily basis. And that's another area I'd like to delve into separately in a survey, because I think that is frightening. And I've never seen so many nasty comments about it as I have lately. To summarize the biggest chunk, they felt they had been treated rudely, betrayed, without empathy, after giving years of blood, sweat, and tears. Now, having said that, what about the voice of the employer? What could we have done? Literally nothing. We stopped in our tracks. We shut our doors. We stopped serving meals. We stopped selling guest rooms. So I see both sides, but if you've been a caregiver for 30 years and then the rug is just pulled out from you and you're fired by email, or your CEO sends a letter saying, I feel your pain, I'm going to take a $1 million pay cut of my $10 million annual salary, you didn't do any justice for the workers. It just fired them up more that they are in the wrong field. So on the positive side, where should we start going? I think we should start with a higher base pay without breaking the bank. We're in business to make a profit. Already, I've seen restaurant media clips about raising the price of their food just to cover labor, so on. This is going to go on for a while, but we have to do something. The career path and mentoring has gone by the wayside as we've downsized in HR across the industry. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but the two bright spots that I've heard a lot about are Chipotle, which raised their starting wage to $15 an hour, and they have a career path to a general manager role in 36 months. So if you want it, there is a path to get there. and the average DM was 100,000 with bonus. So they have a path to put you on. I also have people mentioning Panda Express, which is a quick service Asian restaurant. And they have a week or 2 weeks of onboarding. And anyone who's gone to work for them says, this is the culture I want to be in. We have empowerment, we have this, we have that. I haven't been able to explore it enough, but I have 6 or 7 hotel general managers who have left to go work at Panda Express for the culture. So I want to find out more about them. So there are some companies doing it right. There are other companies that have basically posted in response to our media quotes and news quotes, go away, you're killing our industry, stop talking, you're in the ivory tower. And then I quickly say, no, I've only been in the ivory tower a decade. My whole life has been in hospitality. And I've made money by managing hotels. So the argument doesn't float on my side. But quickly, there are many that just wanted to cease and desist and wait for unemployment to go away and expect that everybody's going to rush back for $10 an hour jobs. I just don't see it happening based on all these comments. Another thing I think we might want to try is we've arbitrarily always had hotel shifts of 7 to 3, 3 to 11. Maybe we need to evolve as an industry and have more flexibility for part-timers to work fewer days, different hours. Just a thought. If I read one more time in our comments, if Starbucks can do it, why can't you? They want benefits. Starbucks, as you know, has benefits even for part-time associates. They are able to afford those benefits. I don't know what the benefits consist of and how strong they are, but I saw at least 10,000 times in some way, if Starbucks can do it, why can't X company? Another thought I had at the end that may be a remedy is the counties and the states and the cities were getting some money from COVID-19 to use in different capacities. And I think maybe we need a clearinghouse because you have the HR Association with its career show. You have career sources doing theirs. You have the universities like me doing the job postings. Everybody's trying the same way, but we really need maybe a think tank or we need buy-in from the owners. I reached out to about 20 CEOs already. I always applaud Chris Nassetta at Hilton because he replies always instantaneously. And I said, the first major hotel brand or airline or cruise line that decides to believe in the new reality of a good starting pay, better work-life balance, and better benefits is going to get the masses faster and get back to profitability much faster. I've heard a lot of, yes, we're interested initial calls, but nobody's run with it yet because I'm sure it's going to hit the bottom line in a not so pretty way. But I think we have some hope, but we do have, you've heard it's called the new pandemic, the labor shortage. I truly believe it. I'll close with this and then we can converse. Enrollments in hospitality and tourism programs at the college level are down across the country. Johnson & Wales has already closed its Miami campus. It only took 6 months of pandemic. They decided to close within the first 6 months of the pandemic. So think about how bad it is now for talent recruitment. And if enrollments are down nationally 20 to 50%, how bad is it going to be in 2023 and 2024? So as an industry, we need to do something. And I just call it soul searching. I don't know what else to call it because we all know that we've been a lot of hours, low pay for years, but we've all been in the business long enough to move beyond that. But we're not appealing to a newbie. We are just not. And the chance that you can go stay in a hotel at employee rate for $49 doesn't interest a young person that's just applying when they can go drive on their own schedule. They can work a call center and bring their pets. They can work shifts that they like. They can have benefits right out the gate. So it is a challenging time. But I'm the eternal optimist. So I'd love to have some chat and conversations. I'll stop sharing and would just love to hear your thoughts on what you see, And I'm going to put my email so that you can reach out. And please don't forget to post jobs. It's completely free. But let's open for chat. I didn't mean to sadden all of you. But it is what it is. I mean, I can't believe I got haters commenting on my post, and the Associated Press guy says, wow, corporate offices do not like you. And I'm like, I'm just sharing the news, my friend.
But I think, Dr. Ricci, when you get the haters start commenting, that's when you've hit something.
Probably, but it's funny to me, a lot of them are workers. And it's not the CEO, or they're parading as workers. So I really will never.
Okay.
I will never really know who they are.
Sure.
Go ahead, Deidre.
I have something too that came up with some of my colleagues, because so first of all, hi everybody, I'm Deidre, and I own a destination management company here in South Florida. And some of the things that my colleagues have also said to me about when they've been reaching out to their workers that we had all laid off about 14 months ago was that team members were saying, I'm not opposed to coming back, but I don't want to come back now during the rebuild because the team is small and it's really hard and there's a lot more work and you have to be a lot more you have to do multiple jobs. We all know about hotel people that are working front desk, cleaning rooms, running working security, doing all kinds of different things. So they were maybe going to be interested in coming back, but once we got over that hump of rebuilding and things were, the borders were open again, there was just more business, and they would feel more secure.
I like that comment because that makes a lot of sense, but I don't know what I would do in their shoes. Like, how long are you going to wait before that job is gone, But they're right. I mean, anybody that came back to work is really burned out. And I'm afraid we're going to lose a chunk of them before we get back to normal operations. Because let me tell you, there's not a GM I know that isn't helping clean rooms, working the desk, answering the switchboard, and they're burned because they've been there, and the guests are not pleasant. The guests are worse than ever. And when you come back and you pay immediately high season rates, no wonder the guests are demanding. So it's a challenge all the way around. Nicole, are you seeing any changes at Atlantic Tech in terms of number of students, or does it not impact you that much because it's also some people come for their high school there?
I think the enrollment is down across the board, at the tech colleges also. But I will say, for the same reasons, I put together like a virtual event maybe a couple of months ago. And, usually we have the face-to-face events and with big numbers of employers and everything. And I really didn't have a lot of participation, in that virtual event.
Wow.
And of course, just like, we're getting a lot of calls from companies who are using the terms desperate. I had one employer say he needed a hug. So this is something that is just, we're in very, very odd times right now.
And you're my go-to in the area for anyone that I want to get for culinary, because culinary staff, everybody's desperate for culinary. And when John Art Institute closed and then Lincoln Culinary closed, Le Cordon Bleu came and went. I mean, we have the Miami-Dade Culinary Institute, but it's far for anybody that wants to recruit in Palm Beach or North Broward. So, you know, for the broader audience, enrollments in colleges are down, period, let alone hospitality, because a lot of people just put it off where they had other things to do. And you consider we basically lost a year of K-12. So I think enrollments will struggle for a while across fields. So it's just, I'm trying to look at how do we get out of here. I really think a big brand that comes forward and says, we heard you. Here's what we're doing for career path. Not everybody wants to be a GM or a VP. They don't need to be. But here's a career path that works for you. Here's some work-life balance. You know, the industry has done nothing but cut staffing levels for 3 decades in a row. After every crisis, we've cut staffing. After the gas crisis in the 70s, after the 80s recessions, after Persian Gulf War, after 9/11. So finally, the pandemic just caused an explosion among workers because all that stress has been loaded onto the shoulders of the people in our industry. And I tell my students, if you were a front desk agent in 2019, you had a very different experience than 1999 or 1989. I mean, we had 5 agents, we had a PBX operator, we had an assistant front office manager. All of those things got cut to the point when the pandemic came, of course they were super stressed. I'd like to ask all of you on here, what do you feel from your ownership? You know, I mean, maybe you don't want to say publicly, but do they get it? Do they not get it? You know, I have had people go to the owners who say, okay, let's do something. And I've had others who are like, no, unemployment's going to fix it. We already pay well. We're already a great place to be. So I'd love to hear some thoughts.
Well, Peter, let me jump in for just a second. I met with owner of several restaurants. They are operating at about 50% staffing, but because of the opening, they are now at 100% capacity available. But with the staffing, the customers are angry. They see all these empty tables. Why can't we be seated? The culinary staff is slowing down the preparation of foods because there's not staff to carry them out and deal with the customers. It's a very difficult dynamic. They're getting burnt out, just as you said. They're working, you know, at 2 or more restaurants because there's not staff to cover the restaurants that are there. They're working 12, 16-hour shifts, and it's just untenable. They're looking for solutions. I definitely agree with your recommendations, but I don't know that there's quick solutions that are, you know, oh, here, you know, just add water. You know?
Yeah, I agree with you. I saw Doug's question, you know, if we did improve the path and treat staff better, what kind of impact? Well, I asked Chipotle that very question, and I finally got a person at corporate to respond. They feel that investing better to get people with buy-in from the start and to career path them and pay them better is going to keep the turnover lower than it has been historically. They want to move it down by about 10%. And those savings will roll into a better guest experience, which will hopefully roll into a better profit. So it's got to come out somehow, especially for the share-driven companies, where it's going to come out a win for the shareholder. And I don't think any shareholder is going to run out and say, oh, yes, let's raise the wages. Now, I also disagree that we should go out on a limb and pay a new hire front desk agent $21 an hour like my student received at a mid-scale hotel, because that will destroy the owner's ability to make a profit. So it's got to be somewhere in fair range and somewhere in between. I agree with Ann said too. It takes them a long time
Right.
to get buy-in on anything when it comes to shelling out some dinero. But if you can show a pathway that it's going to be better in the big picture. You know, Wellington, what you said yesterday, I was at 2J's, and you can just see the angst and frustration among the people waiting in line because they see all the open tables. Not every restaurant is open 100%, but it's not communicated well. And so again, the guests are there and they're paying more, and they've been pent up in the house for the year and they want out. You know, that whole term that I've been hearing lately, revenge travel, it sounds like such a nasty term, but you know, people have been saying it a lot, revenge travel. I'm like, can we come up with a better term for that? How about like getting back travel or something, you know?
Peter, if I can interject, this is Mariah from the Sonesta.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for doing this. We were able to raise wages, thankfully. And we have a core set of team that has been here the whole time, but it's gotten so complicated. Some of the other things that you mentioned, the quality of gas and spring break killed us. The guests that we got in spring break, my team is just tired. We did so many layoffs last year, they haven't taken vacation. Yeah, they have opportunity for overtime, but they're tired. They're tired of dealing with this type of gas. They come to me and they're like, we understand you guys, you know, we do activities for them, we do all this stuff. We are paying yin yang of temporary staffing to try to get some of the room attendants an extra day off here and there. We've got a Carver company in the front desk, which is extremely expensive also, just to try to help. But and then you have, you know, this one goes on leave, this one gets sick. So every time you think you're finally able to help a little bit, they're just getting hammered at. And it's just the type of gas, the stress that they have. I think even if you throw more money at it, even if you do $21 an hour, there's positions out there, $15, $16 working from home on the phone. That is just so much easier than dealing with an angry guest in front of you.
You know, it's so interesting you say that, because one of the things I forgot is that a lot of the comments said, basically, in so many words, I learned during the pandemic what I need to live and be happy. And that much work and those guests don't make me happy. So I can deal with this. You know, when you add up all these little pockets of people leaving for different reasons, it just spells disaster, because there's no way any unemployment insurance benefits going to provide that flood of people to return. So there's all these different reasons. Now, you know, to come back to what Doug said about career pathing and how do we make it work, your example at the Sonesta is perfect. We're paying overtime out the wazoo because we don't have enough staff lines. If we balance things and pay a little better up front and get a better working staff, it might be cheaper in the long run. But, you know, like Graham said, there's no easy here, do this and it's going to work, because it's different from a mom and pop boutique hotel and a small restaurant versus a chain. We have a lot, you know, and I see Elizabeth's on here. I don't want to call her out, but I'm going to anyway. I would never want to be opening new hotels right now, and you've got 2 coming on. So those people are going to be like, I want more than what you're paying. And then they're just going to say no. And you're just going to keep looking and keep looking. And meanwhile, the hotel's going to open. So, you know,
Peter,
so, yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask a quick question. Both pre and post pandemic, it seems like the staffing agencies have a little bit easier time finding back of the house people. And I wondered if you had any insight into that, like how the staffing companies are able to do it, because they're not paying more. We're paying them more, but they're not paying the worker more. How do they get an inroads into folks and are able to get more people than sometimes we're able to?
You know, yeah, they had
Right.
more, they usually had more of a fleet to work with initially. And a lot of their workers had not been full-time anywhere, so they were more able to move here and there. But I have heard of many staffing companies that are out of people completely. So they're not all abundant, just some are, some aren't. But again, think of what we're paying them and how we could, why, you know, one thing also, we could talk about this forever. I know we have to go, but other people look to me and say, well, how can I just give everybody a raise that's brand new? What about my people who have been here 4 years? I have to raise everybody, which is true. And then they're going to feel slighted because Peter just came in and he started at 16 bucks, but I was at 12 bucks, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. Shelley, I'm sorry, I'm all over the
No, I
board.
know, and it's we've been losing some people, so I was gonna jump in anyway. But really, when I saw you post that that finding on LinkedIn, I really had to reach out to you because I knew it would have been something like this. A great dialogue, a great research, and I saw some comments that it has really been great, and it's a lot of food for thought. A lot of food for thought, but we have to go beyond there to start doing something different and seeing how innovative we can be. On you mentioned it, and Nicole also spoke about her job fair that she had, and I'm going to segue into that because we have decided our membership this year has been free because we're trying to do something in the industry, thanks to April and Rafe, who have really been there, and we've come together and decided to have the membership be free last year into this year. And then furthermore, what we're also doing is having a job fair, and the job fair is actually free. Where do you hear that? For the vendors, I'm talking about for vendors. But this is because we're collating everyone, bringing them all into one area, and that is at the Westin. This is going to be next week, Thursday. And April, you want to chat a little bit?
Yes, I believe we have what, like 13 hotels? that
Oh
are
no, we
going there?
have maybe about 16 going now.
16 now. Ooh.
Right. It's a mixture of hotels and a diverse industries, because we have Peter just said that he's going to be having FAU on, and you know, different presentations, and Terry Source Broward will also be there. So we do have quite like Doug has sent something out, and of course we're not going to forget the veterans because it's
Right.
partially
Right. So we're hoping to get a good turnout. We're sharing our flyer with everybody.
Right.
The Westin was nice enough to donate the space to us,
right.
which is great. So we
Yeah.
don't have to pay for that.
Right.
And we're having the hotels just bring like little snacks to share. They're letting us do that as well.
Right.
So it's not costing anybody anything. And I think it's hopefully will be a good turnout. And I think hopefully we'll get to hire some people.
So what we're gonna do is to send the flyer again and start pumping it into the next couple of days,
Yeah.
pumping it on all media, social media platform, just to get the prospective employee in the door. And then that's where now, based on Dr. Reese's chat discussion findings, we have to start being a little bit more innovative in how we're gonna capture those job seekers in the marketplace, or capture them
Greg's
from
actually
somewhere
going to
else,
post it on
attract them.
Craigslist too on
Right.
Monday.
Yeah,
Right.
anywhere.
So, I mean, thank you all for it. And then when you get it, can you please share as well? There are many people out there who are not working. The unemployment situation is changing, so we want to attract. So please, we're asking you to partner with us on that. Our next meeting will be on July 8th. And we're going to invite you to attend. We usually have our meetings on the first Thursday, but on because it's going to be July 4th, we're jumping to the following week, which is July 8th. So we're asking you to also attend. You'll see communication going out for that as well. And it's going to be an interesting topic. More details will be sent on that. So do share. We're going to also share this meeting link as well for those who may not have been able to participate and come on because they had some other obligation. So we thank you for participating